Hello, and welcome to Up Close and Personal with Inelia Benz. I'm your host, Helene Lipson. For our listeners not yet acquainted with Inelia, she was born in Chile and entered this world directly from source energy without any karmic debt, and she came into this life with a sense of knowingness on a pure mission. Her soul's purpose is to raise the vibrational level of the planet to a critical point that will allow a transitioning into the new paradigm, the new level of awareness for everything, for the planet and everything in it, every rock, every insect, every person. And to do that job, Inelia is a spiritual catalyst, awakening those asleep, helping those already aware to reach a higher vibrational level, and she's even traveled to different geographical areas in various ways for the sake of cleansing it so that the vibration can come through properly. Today on Up Close and Personal with Inelia Benz, we will be talking about mysticism and the occult, and we will learn about Inelia's spiritual journey and her earliest abilities to harness the powerful energies unknown and mysterious to many. Hi, Inelia.
Hi, Helene.
Oh, so glad to be with you today. We have such a fabulous program, Inelia. We're going to be talking about mysticism and the occult. I want to ask first, what is mysticism?
Well, mysticism, for me personally, is one of my pet subjects. It's one of those things that I'm very interested in and I love to work with. It's also been part of my work as to raise the vibrational level of the planet. But the very basic part of mysticism, unfortunately, the name comes from mystery, which is taken from the fact that all this information of how to do these things was kept secret by certain institutions in order that the majority of us wouldn't have access to them. But we're changing all that, right?
Yes.
We're changing all that. But basically, mysticism and the occult would be, occult again means hidden. It's the work with energies. We work with energies. We work vibrationally. And some of it involves physical actions, and some of it means going out in the astral to do certain work, working telepathically with somebody, collaborating with different beings and species and stuff like that. I would call all that mysticism as well. And working with energies, it's like, that's what I would say it is.
So, Inelia, in talking about mysticism and the occult, I want to hear in this lifetime where it all began for you, your interest, and how you got started in delving into this.
That was really my family because, when you have certain specific abilities, if you're a sensitive person or if you can, you have abilities of mediumship or telepathy or anything like that, you start trying to find out what this is all about. And what happened to me personally was that even at a very young age, tiny little age, I was really small when I used to, see dead people, like in the movie, I see dead people. And I couldn't really tell the difference between a live person and a spirit. They looked exactly the same to me. Then one of my aunts, she started getting very interested in all this. And we have a history. One of my maternal grandmother was the daughter of a gypsy woman, right, from Spain. And of course, they bring a huge amount of cultural belief systems and knowing with regards to mystical things. Mystical meaning mystery or something that you don't know how it works. And so they brought all this into Chile, and uh, my aunt obviously had some exposure to all this as a child before her mother died. She'd had her mother was a healer, and she used to do cards and readings and stuff, as well as my mother did. And although my mother rejected it for many, many years, my aunt really started looking into it and getting books and finding out, and she became a Rosicrucian eventually. And so she started learning a lot of things, and she would send me information and think, because she knew that I could do certain things, she would say, and this is why and how you do it, kind of thing, you know. So she was very supportive. And then when I lived in England, things, got very intense for a while. And I went out into the library. The library system in England is fabulous. We have fabulous libraries. And I started looking. I went, to the librarian, and I said, I'd like to find out if you have any books about, reading minds, or, telepathy or spirits or whatever. And she showed me to the right location, and I started reading books about it to try and investigate, two things, what it was all about, and also how can you replicate it? How can you teach others how to replicate these things? Because it's all very well if there's an incident that happens once in your life, but if you can't replicate it, what's the use, right?
Mm-hmm.
And also, if you can't replicate it yourself, how can you teach others how to do it? So anything that I can't replicate or teach others, for me, is absolutely useless. Right. So that was my investigations. That's where I started delving into and trying new different things and investigating religions and occult systems and stuff like that. I looked at everything. Well, not everything, obviously, but I looked at a lot.
And what were you drawn to? What was your first method, or what was your first? Did you like astrology? Did you like cards? Did you like just channeling?
Yeah, the first thing that I investigated and the first books that I started reading a lot of was about seeing dead people, because that was something that was so present in my face, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I read a lot of those, and then I started investigating things such as telekinesis, because as a teenager I was able to move things around, but then it went away, so I wanted to get it back. And telepathy, other things, the pendulum. And yeah, I took a course as an adult when I was living in Madrid. I took a course on the tarot cards. And that was fascinating. The tarot cards were fascinating. The teacher was amazing. She was this woman who wasn't just a tarot reader. She was actually a magus, a magician. She was not like a party magician, but an actual person who can do magic. And that was really fascinating, hanging out with her, learning from her, seeing what methods she was using and what she was up to. It's really, really fascinating. She was a fascinating woman.
So tell me about your work with energies, your work with things that are not concrete in this 3D reality.
Yeah, this work is very much choreographed by my entourage, the beings and guides and people who are really here to support raising the vibrational level of the planet. And it's been a learning about it, because I've had a difficult time as a child staying inside the body, or just seeing what other people saw and not, that movie that says,
Mm-hmm.
I see dead people.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
When I was little, I could see beings and dead people like I see you and me. It's like very physical. I wasn't able to really tell them apart. And I honestly didn't know the difference between walking in the astral and walking in the physical, because they're all both in the same location. You can see both when you're very young. I think many young children still do, but they conform to, and we conform to what is normal and what we are able to see.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So basically, occult means hidden, and it was kept there by burning the people who were sharing openly that they could see beyond these dimensions. Other cultures have other names for them. They call it shamanism, shamanic journeying. They call it dream time. They call it different things.
Now, who works with you? Do you have a specific spirit guide that you work with and very closely with, or is it just a whole bunch of different beings from all over?
Well, our guides really are our interpretation of our, different beings. They come in according to our culture, according to what we resonate with. I don't actually have one guide. I have a sense of being requested to do things by source, and also sometimes by Gaia, and also sometimes by the planetary council. So sometimes I'm requested to do things by the planetary council. And when I look at the requests, and basically these requests come to everybody and anyone who is able to do or able to hear them, that is in a physicality, it's a physical existence in a physical human body. Because this is where we can affect things. As a physical being, we can affect things. So these requests come in, and I will look at the request. I will sit with it for a while. Sometimes I will respond instantly if it's something I enjoy doing. If it's something I'm not sure if I can do, I will look at it energetically and have a see how I might be able to help with it. And then I will go ahead and do it. And obviously, when you're working with these vibrations, which we might call the higher self, source, Gaia, the human collective, the planetary council, all these energies that we might put those labels onto, we are working as part of a larger choreographed work. Mm-hmm. So it's not myself working out the kinks and the details. It's the larger choreographic work, and I adjust a piece in that. So I will say, yeah, I can do this, I can do that. And then things will fall into place very naturally, very organically. Everything will fall into place at the perfect time, perfect place, and the work will get done.
Now, I saw a video with you and Lucha Renee, and you were talking about encountering different beings, human beings, that were incredibly negative, and giving them the opportunity to have the light come through them again and for them to be redeemed in some capacity. How did you know to seek out those specific people? Did that message come from Source?
Yeah, sometimes it does. I have been requested a few times to engage with very dark beings, very dark workers. And there's no judgment in my part. I'll work with anybody whose result of collaborating with them or working with them will raise the vibration level of the planet, right? So most of these are highly influential individuals or beings. What I do have a problem is when it's icky yucky, because it feels icky yucky. So I go, I don't want icky yucky. But then if the insistent comes along and they really want to engage, then I will engage with them. I will engage in a communication with them. Often it's a temporary thing that needs to be done. And basically the engagement at some point will be, or before the shift happened last summer, 2011. We're moving so quickly. The energetic shift of the two worlds happened, the split, energetically, and then obviously it's been reflected in the physical for the next few years. But before that, when a dark entity wanted to engage in a fight, I was quite willing to do that because I like to fight. I actually have a very powerful warrior energy within this genetic material. And she loves to fight. She loves to get into a fight, not through fear, not through wanting to win, because often she'll lose, but just for the fun of it. And so before the shift, the engagement would often come in, let's fight, I want to take you out type thing. And I'll go, okay, and would fight. And it was very, very, sometimes it would affect the physical body because some of these entities or beings or people are very gifted mystical warriors in their own right. So I would take my hat off to them if they, punched me really hard, right? But ultimately, at the end of the fight, there would always be that choice, you have three choices. You can become light, you can move on to another planet, to another dimension that exists where you will be able to continue being a dual, that very dark being, or you can go back into oneness and no longer be. So these were the choices that were given. And some of them took the first, some of them took the second, some of them took the third. But it was never my choice. It was never my judgment. It was always, okay, that's enough. Now this choice comes to them from source.
So what happens? You're meditating, and then you actually are looking at that person that you're talking about, which is a physical entity on the earth that also has to be pretty knowledgeable about the occult and mysticism. And then basically you're interacting together on the astral plane, and then you're saying, well, let's fight. And then it almost appears like when you say, well, punch you really hard, that sounds like you're actually acting out a fight.
Yeah, basically, it's not a day meditation. It's not a meditation. We must not confuse meditation with mystical work. Meditation is completely different. Okay, it's not the same thing at all. Now, the work would be done at a astral level. It can be done telepathically. A lot of it is done telepathically through remote viewing, right? So these things are different to meditation, and they're a little bit like daydreaming or lucid dreaming. They're very similar to that. Anybody who's had an out-of-body experience will know, yeah, I know what you're talking about. But yeah.
So have you actually felt it physically later? If you got a punch, so you say, on this astral plane, would you feel it in your physical body?
Oh yeah, at one point, I mean, I don't want to, this might sound scary for anybody who's, hasn't processed their fear of the mystical realms, which I would say now would be a good time if you're feeling any fear listening to this stuff, to process your fear, because that's the only in that you will have. That's the only way somebody can affect you and hurt you, is if you're afraid of them. So yeah, process your fear about all these things before you delve or even listening to it. But yeah, there was one point where somebody very powerful threw a psychic wave at me, and it hit me in the solar plexus, and it threw me backwards in the chair at a physical level. It was quite funny, it's like, whoa, that was really good. It's like, oh yeah, you got me there really big, my hat off to you, sir. That was fun. Now I'm taking my gloves off, and it was fun. I mean, that's the whole point, you see, because they're going through a very aggressive, going to kill you type of energy, and I going, yeah, I'm gonna have fun here because this is fun. This is colorful. This is, it's a different type of energy. But since the shift happened, the engagement has changed. I am no longer required to or able to engage at that level. I cannot engage in fights or battles. That's a very low vibrational engagement level. And it was like, yeah, before then it was, I was able to do it, and it was a way to engage with the person. But now we go straight, immediately into the last stage, which is giving them the choice. I'm no longer able to or required to, and even if I want to because it's fun, I cannot do it because it's old paradigm. It's not part of the new paradigm. It's not part of raising. It would actually lower the vibration. Now it would lower the vibration, and that's not what I'm here to do. So
right.
It's immediately onto the last choice. I stand and I move out of the way and allow source to come in and give them those choices, or whatever choices source wants to give them. And that's it. Anybody who comes to me for an engagement, even if it's a fight, I am not engaging at that level anymore, because the shift has occurred and this new paradigm is not part of this new paradigm. Fighting and battle and war is no longer part of this new paradigm. And I'm not able to, because it would be counter of what I'm here to do, which is raise the vibrational level of the planets.
Is anybody capable, Inelia, of doing remote viewing? Could anybody do this?
Oh, absolutely. I totally believe that you can. And there are fabulous resources on the internet on how to do it. But yes, this is one of those things that every human being can do. Every person on the planet can do.
That's interesting.
Maybe not at once, right? I mean, if you think about Beethoven, he wasn't born being able to play music. He had to learn how to do it. And it took him years. So yeah, maybe it won't take years if you're really dedicated, but it will take a while and practice, yeah.
So somebody that was just learning about this, somebody that was just opening themselves up to this, what would you suggest? Are there any good books that they can read to learn about this, or any movies they can watch so that they can get a better feeling of what this entire process entails?
I would say process your fear. First of all, process your fear, and then really look at the intention behind you wanting to work at this mystical level. And one of the things that I did in the past 6 months was to do a course. I gave a course with 3 other mystics, and it's called Beyond Mysticism, and you can find it at beyondmysticism.com. All the entire course is actually in audio now that people can download and do. So for me personally, if you're really interested in this subtopic and want to find out all about it and use it in your own life, I would do that course. The 3 mystics I was working with, oh my goodness, they are so talented. And all the information, there's resources in that site as well that you can use without even doing the course. There's a resources page you can use. So yeah, go there.
So Inelia, to become more familiar with mysticism and the occult in a comfortable way, what can you suggest as far as exercises for our listeners to try?
One exercise that I absolutely love, I think this is wonderful, is to go to a park or a yard, if you have a yard, and go up to a tree, just any one of your trees in your yard or in a park, and there start looking at the tree. Just look at the tree. Spend, give yourself about an hour just looking at the tree, and then start finding beauty within that tree. Start to find beauty in that tree. And eventually you'll find that you will connect with that tree and become one with it. And that's all about this mystical thing, like mystery. It's actually working with energies. It's about communicating. And a tree, the energies of trees are actually quite wonderful. Most of them anyway. There's very few unfriendly trees, and then you can follow it through. You can follow it in through its roots. You can follow the energy into all the other trees in where you are and all around the planet. It's really wonderful. Or if you have a pet as well, just look at your pet. Spend about an hour looking at your pet, and eventually just connect. You will connect. Generate that sense of beauty. Generate that sense of beauty within you. Don't say, I love you, you're beautiful. You can actually say you're beautiful, and you generate within you that sense of, whoa, that is so beautiful. Right? That's what you want, that feeling inside of you. Wow. And once you're basking in that energy, you will connect with the other being. And that's all about energy work,
And that is extremely good advice, and I know it's going to be very helpful. And also fascinating was today's conversation with you on Up Close and Personal, Inelia. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
It's a pleasure. And as we close, we ask our listeners to join us next week. Until then, we send our love, our light, and our blessings to all. This is Helene Lipson, your host. Namaste.